Like we actually open town.
Yeah, you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a left room.
Yes.
I've got her one.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, whatever.
The city polls here. Everything in pitch.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Delta Township Board Meeting, and it is October 6th. And if you are able to stand with us as we do the Pledge of Allegiance, please do, but if not, sitting is fine. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Bowen.
Here.
Trustee Cascarella. Present. Trustee Lyman.
Present.
Trustee Mahika. Treasurer Fedewa.
Here.
Clerk Marcus present. Supervisor Brewer.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We are now on to presentations and proclamations, and we have one with Mr. Menser. Peter is going to come up and talk to us about OHM, the master plan.
Actually, Lynn is here from OHM. She's going to lead the presentation. I will jump in as needed.
Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you so much. We'll have to get the microphone all set and ready to go. Nice to have a group here too. And Mary, are you running the show? All right, excellent. You can go ahead and move to our welcome slide. Just wanted to take a minute and introduce myself again. I'm Lynn Wilson. I am a community planner at OHM Advisors out of our Lansing office and lifetime Ingham County resident. So really pleased to be working in my home area. I want to thank the board, all of you, for making time for this presentation tonight and your interest, your engagement. Thanks to Brian for his support. Thanks to Peter and his team. They've just been a joy to work with, and Mary, of course, who's been helping with the publicity so much. So go ahead and advance. Our project briefing today will be to bring you up to speed on where we are in the plan and how you can be a part of its success and engage going forward. So we're going to first review the upcoming open house event. I know it feels like we were just talking about an open house, but we have another one coming up. And then we'll go through several topics that we'll be exploring at the open house to give you a bit of a preview, including draft future land use map, focus areas, our community engagement outcomes, and vision statement topics. So with that, we will advance. Thank you, Mary. Our community engagement and our online survey wrapped up on August 22nd, which has given us a 6-week window from the end of that phase to the second open house. So this is really core crunch work time for your master plan. At the first open house, we were really focused on listening, asking questions, very open-ended, getting the community input, as well as the survey, the community survey. Our second open house is going to be checking for our understanding. We're going to be bringing products to the open house and asking for reactions to, like, how did we do? This is what we learned. This is what you said. This is how we put it together. What do you think? So go ahead. You each, I think, have one of our flyers in front of you, and I think there are extra copies here if you are here in the audience tonight and would like to pick up a paper copy. They are also available on the project website, which you can find easily from the township's website or from the barcode on this flyer. Um, You'll notice the date, time, and location is there, October 15th, 3:30 to 6:30. We are actually going to come back to the Delta Township Admin Building right here. We had originally thought we might have the event at the Lansing Mall. But we did a debrief after the last open house event and realized that it was really hard to hear in that room. And we want we want the event to be accessible. We want people to be able to find it easily. We want people to be able to hear the presentation. So we kind of called an audible and switched to this Township Hall location where your residents are going to know how to get here. And you have excellent facilities. So we'll be able to do the presentation in one room and have the kind of open house shifting and conversations in another room. So if you're an electronic person, you can download this flyer from the website if you would be willing to share that through your own networks or because Mary's doing an excellent job. We were just talking about all the different ways that she is sharing this information. But you are all really important. You're leaders, you're influencers, you're very connected in the community. So, if each of you would reach out individually, would touch 10 people and say, we'd love to have you come, that would make the world of difference. If people are not able to come to that particular date and time, because it is very specific, there will be an online engagement option where we'll have the open house materials available beginning that same date, October 15th. And there will be open comment boxes for each area. So if you cannot attend, you can participate virtually, or if you attended but then had another thought, you can go back online and give us your thoughts. So go ahead, Mary. With regard to the future land use map and indeed the whole master plan document, I do want to make the comment that this is a policy document. It's not a regulatory document. So it's going to create a vision of the community in the future. It's going to be guiding. It's going to establish a foundation for future implementation steps. But the future land use map in and of itself does not change the zoning district. An objective that recommends looking at the zoning ordinance does not change the zoning ordinance. So we're at a discussion phase about what should our policy be, where should we be steering towards. So this is a great time to be engaged in that conversation. At the open house, there will be drafts of the future land use map, and you have a screenshot up here that I know you can't possibly see on a parcel by parcel layer level, but at a high level, I'll just comment that generally there are no major changes. If it was agricultural before, it's still agricultural. If it was industrial before, it's still industrial. If it was residential before, it's still residential. So we're not, turning things on its ear. There are a couple of areas that I'd like to point out that are a little bit of a change or a tweak, and then we'll kind of cover some of them in the next slides in the focus area. But there is a rural preserve zoning district that is essentially the western residential zones where you still have fairly large parcels. And we're going to be thinking about how might those develop in ways that give the development rights, but also preserve that rural character and environmental sustainability that we heard so loud and clear from your residents. We also are looking at the traditional neighborhood district to explore where we might be able to allow, these are areas that are primarily single family homes developed After the 1960s, it's really hard to see the colors on this map, and I apologize. It will be easier online and in the open house, but we'll be experimenting with some language and testing out at the open house and in the public engagement. What about allowing a little bit of something else residential in those areas? Maybe a duplex here and there, maybe an accessory dwelling unit. We'll be asking some of those questions. We also are going to be testing out maybe some corner coffee shop ideas. Yeah, maybe a little local bookstore. We'll see. The use would be a neighborhood commercial description. And again, this is not going to make any immediate change. But come and let us know what you think about some of those thoughts. We ran it by the steering committee and had a fairly positive reception to that. There are some new districts, and one of them, your current zoning map separates commercial and office. We're gonna put those together as a commercial office district. In terms of form and impact, those are very similar, and when we allow some commercial within those office parks, you have a place you can walk and get lunch. You have a place you can drop off your dry cleaning without having to get in your car and drive somewhere else. And this is actually a concept that's teed up in your current master plan to think about. So we're bringing that back around full circle. You also see a kind of a hot pink, if you are able to see those colors, district that's a mixed use commercial office residential. So a combination that adds in some residential options. And one more is a flex corridor. And this is on the far east end of the Saginaw Highway corridor. We're going to see a close up in just a minute. Thank you, Mary. You can see kind of the tan beige frontage parcels there. Those are parcels that are developed and they're just not very deep. There's not a lot of opportunity with the space that's with those lots to do the same sort of potential redevelopment. So we're thinking about maybe we could put some other things in there that aren't currently allowed. Things like maker spaces, things like incubators, business incubators, maybe light industrial or technology district. So those are some of the conversations we'll be teeing up for you over the next couple of weeks. Go ahead there. We started at the first open house with 6 focus areas, and there were 2 that got most of the comments about change. And one of them is this East A focus area, which is the Meridian or the Lansing Mall area and the property just to the south of Saginaw Highway. So that will be a focus area at the open house. We're going to have some design concepts, some thoughts about typology of buildings that might go there with this mixed commercial office residential concept. So that'll be one of our focus areas. And then this East B focus area was the other one that got a lot of comments, both on the maps and in the survey. Real concern about vacant storefronts and the appearance as people enter into Delta Township. So we'll have some concepts there as well. And this potential typology. So looking forward to getting your feedback and your reactions to that. Wanted to move into some highlights of the community engagement, and I certainly hope you'll have some questions for me afterwards and or for Peter, but we have a draft of a community engagement summary. We're going to go through a few highlights today, starting with starting with overall, really happy with the engagement that we experienced. And you have some numbers summarizing things there. More than 850 people visited the website and over 650 responded to the survey. We had a great turnout at the first open house. We held 3 focus groups, really had a good feel for themes that continued to come up once we cast that broad net. So, Mary, go ahead. One of the questions, well, the question I think that we started the survey with was, what does Delta Township do well? And you're probably not surprised to see parks at the very top of the list, way out in front of everything else. And it's really not only a great tribute to what you're doing with your park system, but it's also a planning tool as we think about land use and connecting to those spaces that people are obviously enjoying. So you see other themes about it being a safe community, enjoying the events and the recreation that go with parks. I was telling Mary that her communications came up here. Specifically, the Talk of the Township newsletter came up over and over again. So feel really good that there is a group of 650 plus people who had good things to say about what's going on in Delta Township. Let's go ahead to the next one. As we're having conversations about housing, we've asked questions about, do we need more housing for, and looked at different demographic groups. And almost across the board, we had about 50% recognition that we needed new housing in these areas for young professionals, for empty nesters, for families, and for seniors. So that was a good finding. Only 8 people wrote in on the other, we don't need more housing. So yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, indicative of some recognition that although the question of how and where is a question, it's pretty widely recognized that there is a need to support some additional housing options in the community. So what would you most like to see added? Sidewalks, trails, pathways, and then gathering places. We're right at the top, almost neck and neck. Restaurants and small retail were the other top vote getters out of. Now, this was a curated list, so you were given a list and had to organize it by your top priorities. So, okay. What we're going to do, in addition to the mapping for this policy document, is we will be creating vision statements and then objectives to guide how we are going to make this happen. And those vision statements are going to be organized around 5 topics: mobility, community identity, housing, economic prosperity, and environmental sustainability. And I wanted to take just a minute to talk about this community identity element. It was very interesting that without asking the question directly, what we heard in focus groups, what we heard on the survey, what we heard on some comments at the open house is, in one way or another, we're not sure who we are. We don't have a downtown. We have different zip codes. We have different school districts. So that idea of who are we as a community, I think your parks are going to play a huge part in that. We'll have some thoughts on community identity and branding. But that was one that I don't think I expected. And there's a lot of things we can do in land use planning that can help create a sense of place and a sense of community identity. So let's go on our next steps. Just wanted to recap that we did get through the things we talked about. We covered what I said we were going to talk about. The open house event, you have the flyer, you have the info. I hope you'll come. Draft future land use, you have information on that. The focus areas, our community engagement and vision statements. So we managed all of that. And Mary, what is next? The open house is coming up October 15th. And then another really quick turnaround for the planning team. We're gonna take another month and we're gonna write the plan. And on November 19th, we're coming back to your steering committee with the draft plan. So we're making it happen. So very excited about the project. It's really going along very nicely and would be happy to take any questions, or Peter's here too if the questions are more for the planning office directly.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Wilson from the board? Well, on behalf of the board, thank you for the presentation and the update. This is exciting. And I totally related to the 5 pillars that were mentioned under vision. And I believe our CIA board has talked about our identity and where it starts. And so there's some conversations on what we might do that will eventually make its way to the board, some ideas on that. So thank you for your presentation and looks excited. I have it on my calendar to attend on the 15th.
Great. I'll look for you there.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the agenda. And I just need a motion to approve.
I'd like to add an agenda item under committee of the whole. I'd like to
The whole
have another discussion about public notices.
public notices. Okay. All right, is there any other additions? Yes, okay, we
I know the agenda is amended.
with the
Support.
addition. Thank you.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Awesome. So we will add the public notices. Is that going to be, are we adding that?
Committee of the whole.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see it here. Okay, next, we don't have any public hearings. We do have one communication, and that is on the Willow Highway update, which I know a lot of people want to know what's going on with the Willow Highway update. So I know it was a communication piece, but Brian, is there anything you can just quickly share about what's happening with that street closure?
Sure. So the, as far as the Willow project is concerned, they do have pipe pulled all the way to the community center. So all of the, pipe work, west of Canal is completed. So it's just restoration work now. So I believe we're still a couple weeks away from being able to open, that roadway fully, but all the substantial work is done there. And then in addition, the Pepper Ridge Force Main, which is more, so work on the east side, will be, starting here as well, very soon, once they finish the work on Willow.
Excellent, excellent.
Just a quick question for Brian. Is this construction anticipated to take the entire winter?
No, that should be, completed before, the Willow portion will be completed here in a few weeks. The Pepper Ridge will take, another month or so, but should be substantially completed by the end of the year. There will be some, restoration and other things that will be done into next year, but all the, critical infrastructure work will be done this year.
Thank you.
So where does Pepper Ridge come into Willow? So
Let's see.
nothing of Pepper Ridge is actually done yet.
Correct. They have not started that yet. But any work with Pepper Ridge is primarily on private property where we have easements. So if there is any impact to the road, it'll be very temporary up at Willow. So I don't know, Jake, if you'd like to answer that specifically.
The Pepper Ridge discharge point is connecting to the gravity sewer manhole that's actually right at the Redwood driveway.
East or west of the highway?
It is east of the highway. So the Pepper Ridge right now runs south on the west side of the interstate. And we are relocating the discharge point to the north. So the Pepper Ridge lift station is in the Redwood development on the west side of the interstate. We're going straight across to the east and then headed north to connect into Willow.
Any other questions for Jake?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's nothing else with regards to this, we're going to move on to public comments. And this is where our public can come for 3 minutes, state your name and your address, and share with the board what you would like. We are not going to comment back during your comment because it's your time. But the board members are certainly at liberty to speak later in the meeting if they so choose to do so. Mr.
Good
Mrs.
evening.
Anderson.
I am Brenda Henderson, 4808 Delta River Drive in Lansing. And so last month we had the budget presentation, and I commend you for what you had to do considering the loss of money and revenue and departments having to just work on their budgets. And so one of the things that was eliminated, which I was really shocked by, and I didn't know it would cost around $14,000, was the community awards dinner. And so now we have a community event that has been eliminated. And I keep saying, I hope we get a windfall so we can get $14,000 to get it back. I don't think it means that it's going to be eliminated forever. Maybe it will come back in a different fashion. But there was not any conversation on Juneteenth being eliminated in the budget. And that evening, there was a little bit of discussion about the Juneteenth. And I don't know what kind of conversations are going to continue about Juneteenth, but that's one that I don't want to see eliminated. We have our surrounding municipalities that are celebrating Juneteenth. We have Meridian Township, Delhi Township, East Lansing. Lansing has 2 Juneteenth celebrations. And one of their celebrations has been going on for at least 25 to 30 years. And then, of course, Lansing Community College and Michigan State, go green. And so, like I said, I don't want to see that being eliminated because it's a good community event. We already have one community event that we have eliminated. And so with her presentation that she just did, what does Delta do best? Community activities. So let's please, whatever that conversation is going to be about Juneteenth, let's don't have it watered down or eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. Next. Welcome, Burl.
Thank you. Yes, those. I'm Burl Schwartz from the newspaper City Pulse. I've met some of you since I spoke here once before. And some of you I have not, but Supervisor Brewer, Clerk Clark, and trustees, I've come to speak to you again about public notices. I started City Pulse over 24 years ago, and one of the main reasons it became a weekly was that you had to be at least weekly in order to get public notices. I'm very proud of the fact that we are the main conveyor of public notices in the greater Lansing area. It started with the city of Lansing 23 years ago. It spread to East Lansing. And now you can see from the flyer that I brought you, that I stuck in the paper, we have many governments and entities that are required to run public notices using our services. A big part of that is that our service is excellent. It's accurate. We bend over backwards to accommodate government needs. Part of the reason it's so good is that a Waverly High School graduate is doing it. He's here today, Caleb Willows and Duffy from our staff. And another reason that so many governments are with us is we have the best place in of any options that you may have for public notices. In fact, our prices, first of all, within our paper are about, for governments are about half the price that you would pay for an ad for the same amount of space. We value being able to service governments for public notices so much that we discount it quite a bit. Secondly, you need to keep in mind, I know Delta Township runs its notices elsewhere. They may quote you a lower price per column inch, but our column inch is twice as wide as our main competitor. So our price is quite a bit less. Finally, we have more readers than any other print publication in the greater Lansing area. We have 71% more circulation than even our main competitor's biggest paper of the week, the Sunday paper. So for those reasons, I hope that Delta Township will join with all these other governments and start placing its public notices with us and save your taxpayers money. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next public comment, next speaker.
David Howell, 9487 Guinea Road. The reason why I'm here tonight is I wanted to make a comment about a graph that was used to show the millages that were levied by Delta Township in comparison to other townships. And I believe it was part of a presentation here a couple meetings ago, which I wasn't at. But in terms of millages that are levied by Delta Township, mills in Delta Township are not equivalent to mills in other communities because our property values are higher and our SEV is higher. So another community might have to have 1.5 mills in order to equal 1 mill to raise the same amount of revenue. The second thing is that the millages that are levied by the Board of Trustees are Township Operating, Township Paramedic, Township Public Safety, and Township Sheriff's Building. Those come to 7.7683 mils. Where we now have a public safety assessment of 1.5 mils, which is going to raise that to 9.2683 mils. And on the ballot, there's a millage for to support CATA and ETRAN, and that is 0.75 mils. So if you add those up, it comes to 10.0183 mils, which puts us right by Meridian Township. And one thing that's different about Meridian Township is they operate their own police department. And there's one other township that's higher than us or than that number, and that would be Lansing Township. They also operate their own police department. All of the cities that are listed in here that are above Delta Township, they not only have a police department, but they have a road maintenance department, and they have to maintain all of their streets and roads, which we benefit because Eaton County Road Commission does all of our roads. So I just thought that that graph is comparing apples to oranges. And I wanted to just mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public speakers tonight?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Michelle Hart and I live at 4509 Mayford Street here in Delta Township. Currently, CATA's Route 3 has been funded by 2 grants totaling just over $2 million for the past 3-year grant period. I believe those grants expired last week on September 30th. CATA CEO and E-Trans Executive Director Brad Funkhauser indicated here at the October 14th, 2024 board meeting presentation that Route 3 costs between $600,000 and $700,000 a year as an urban route and is the necessary link to the connector routes going to Charlotte and Grand Ledge. Why then is Delta Township asking voters for $1.5 million per year for a route that costs CATA $700,000 a year? The 0.25 E-Tran millage expires in 2026. Do you anticipate that millage renewal not being passed by Eaton County residents and therefore seek to pad CATA coffers with funds from Delta Township residents to shoulder not only Route 3, but the entire expense of the Charlotte and Grand Ledge connectors as well? Those communities are not asking their voters to pay for those routes. CATA conducted 2 surveys regarding services to Delta Township, one in 2024 and the other in May of this year. Mr. Funkhauser presented the 2024 results at the October 14th, 2024 board meeting here. At that time, about 70 people were using Route 3 to travel to and from work. And based on the numbers provided by Mr. Funkhauser, ridership averaged about 6 passengers per bus on the route. Despite several requests to this board, specifically to Manager Reed, to Supervisor Brewer, to Clerk Clark, and to CATA leadership, the 2025 survey results have yet to be disclosed. Yet this board is asking voters to approve more than twice the amount of money CATA has indicated is necessary to run Route 3, and that ask is for 10 years. In a time where every dollar counts for so many, the use of vague language in the millage request and a lack of transparency showing where and how dollars will be spent are the reasons I oppose the millage request. While there is a transportation need for a number of residents, more transparency must be provided by this board to warrant asking for $15 million over the next 10 years. Show us the numbers, show us the survey results, show us the budget sheet, pull back the curtain, and offer the transparency your constituents deserve.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle. George, can you give me one second? George, would you come on up? George, did you want to speak? There's a microphone right there for you.
Here, do you want this one?
Thank
Thank
you.
First of all, George Hanley, 943 House Lane, apartment 5, Delta Township, 48917. I have been a Delta Township resident for years now. I use both E-Tran and CATA, Mainline and Spectran, as well as numerous other transit systems throughout this entire state. Hey, but CATA and E-Tran let me get to everything else. They are essential to my getting to work, getting to church, getting to every aspect of my life, medical and otherwise, which is also why I am also in absolute support of the other millage, because as I stated the last time I was here last month, the medics have literally saved my life twice in April when I had pneumonia, twice in 3 weeks when I had the worst luck ever. And I wish they were here again so I could thank them personally. I didn't get that chance, but let's be real here. It is not the Delta Transit millage, and that's the actual name, is not to support CATA Route 3, and it doesn't just ferry people on that bus. There is innumerable routes, Route 12, which goes, among other things, out to the West Campus and numerous businesses, including, I believe, out to the warehouse and the other developments as they come online. And there is the essential connectors, and this millage will also is essential to the funding and support of E-Tran. And it will also be used to fund whatever other transit funding Delta has deemed necessary. But all of this is essential to my livelihood, and I'll be using E-Tran to come to the next meeting and had a Spectran to leave because of the operating hours, and you're all welcome to come early and see that happen, to see the evidence of it. But I cannot state enough the sheer volume of the people that use the broad system of both CATA and E-Tran, and the pigeonhole and nitpick just one tiny route is an incredibly short-sighted and totally misconstruing and inaccurate, and I must set the record straight.
Thank you, George. Your time is up, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yes, thank you for being so patient.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I do empathize with your situation and position that you're in, and totally understand where at some point in times there are needs for public transportation,
State
but.
your name. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I'm gonna-
Scott Lonier, 8415 Doe Pass, been a Delta Township resident here for 27 years now. But on the proposed millage that's coming up for public transportation, I'm going to read right from your website so I don't get misquoted right here. The Delta Township is asking voters whether they wish to approve a 0.75 mil property tax increase for the purpose of funding public transportation services. These services may be purchased by the township from E-Tran, CATA, or private companies in order to provide services. So with that being said, I'm going to go to another site from your website that says the ridership in Delta Township has more than doubled, expanding, and then over the last 3 years, averaging between 4,000 and 5,000 local trips per month. It goes on to say annual ridership for CATA's Route 3 was over 53,000 on Route 3. So let's say it's over 53,000. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm just a farmer, but I can do math. I'm going to round it to 54,000 because I'm going to be generous. And I'm going to say 54,000 over 12 months. That's 4,500 people that ride it monthly. And you're averaging between 4,000 and 5,000 local trips. That's one person per local trip, according to your data on your website that you're providing us. And you're asking us to give you $1.5 million a year to spend at your discretion without us having any say on what that $1.5 million is going to go to. You're going to decide whether it's CATA, you're going to decide whether it's E-Tran, you're going to decide if it's Uber. Maybe you're going to pay everybody to have an Uber. That's public transportation, and that's for you guys to decide, not us who are giving you guys the money for that. You know, you guys are, every one of you up there is in your Democratic Party, you continually call Republicans and Donald Trump fascist. Well, you guys are the pot calling the kettle black because you want us to give you this money, carte blanche, for you to do what you want with it, when you want with it, and give it to who you want. Well, you know what? We're not going to stand up for it anymore, damn it. It's our money. We have say so in this, and we're going to have a say so in it come November with our votes. And we're going to come out to vote, and we're going to be strong, and we're going to shut this thing down because you're always the party of crying, oh, pay your fair share, pay your fair share. I pay my fair share for transportation. I pay it in the form of auto insurance that I pay to a local auto insurance company right here in Delta Township that you guys give tons of tax abatements to keep them here in our township. But yet my insurance prices go up every single year too, much like our millage prices go up every single year. So if you want to pay your fair share, let's everybody pay their fair share, including the people who are using the public transportation. But I guess the overall arching thing of the summary of the whole discussion is you can put all the lipstick on a pig that you want. You can call this public transportation when we really know what it is. It's for Cattle Route 3 so that we can get low-income housing, which you want to put more lipstick on a pig and call it affordable workforce housing, and attempt to hoodwink all us taxpayers into making sure that you have the public transportation in order for you to set up that low-income housing that you so
Thank you,
desperately
Scott.
want.
Sorry,
that you
your
sit
time is
back
up.
and are going to grease your palms from the fat developers who are going to pay you guys off for this,
Thank
and
you.
who some of you might even wake up next to bed each and every morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Miles. I've been a proud Delta Township resident since 1991. I raised my children here. I paid taxes. I'm also paying towards the millage. It's uncomfortable, but I know we have to pay to get what we need out of this community. So with that said, I have been a part of a lot of community events, community service projects. One dear to my heart is my 501c3 for Jasmine Miles Memorial Foundation. We give back. And so today, I just want to talk about what it means for me to have seen the Juneteenth program this year, okay? I finally felt seen and heard for someone who's an African-American, been in this community since 1991, to identify with something of my culture was simply amazing. The committee did an amazing job. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for the board, for all the work that you did. And I really, really would like to see that project move forward. In light of the budget cuts, I know something's got to go. I've enjoyed Delta Rocks. I've enjoyed a lot of the father-daughter events that went on in the community. Lots of other things that I could mention, including the fireworks. I have created great memories with my family for the fireworks, but we no longer have them. And I understand that these are line items that we have to take a look at. But I ask that you walk in my shoes for 1 second. As an African-American, my ancestry is difficult to trace. Generations of history was erased through slavery. That makes reality hard and often painful to be able to identify where I come from. So to have a community celebration that speaks to me and my heritage was very meaningful. Not only was it meaningful, it was very healing. It's heartwarming to finally see that this recognition right here in Delta Township was celebrated. Just like Ms. Henderson said, East Lansing's doing it. Lansing has done it for years. Other communities. I would like to see us maintain and move forward with that event. And let's not forget that it's a national holiday. Don't know how long that's going to last with the current environment and the political environment that's coming out of the White House. Okay? Where DEI is known as a negative comment. It's called diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means bringing everyone, recognizing everyone, not just one particular culture. So it's very personal to me. It's not political. And it means belonging within the community that I've contributed to for over 30 years. Over 30 years. So I pay taxes, I pay my dues. I got the big bill just like everybody else for the millage. I didn't like it, but guess what? I will not be having overflow of water within my neighborhood because it's personally impacted me in my neighborhood. So I'm going to pay it. But tonight, I simply ask that we move forward as we look at the budget to consider that line item. But you see it as a bridge to the community that connects each and every one of us. I would like for you to know about African-American culture as well. We all need to know and identify what everybody's walk is in life. And I will speak to the CATA. I wish we had a line 3 going through my neighborhood and my daughter may still be here. I'm just saying. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Miles.
Good evening, Township Board and guests and visitors. My name is Reverend Miriam, excuse me, Reverend Miriam Bungie. I am a retired pastor. My husband and I, also a pastor. We are Lutheran pastors, have been in this, lived in Delta Township for 30 years. I have served as a Lutheran pastor for 41 years. Our son graduated from Waverly School System, which was wonderful. He then went on to get his bachelor's and master's at MSU, is now a data scientist for Polaris in Minneapolis. I'm here to also support the Juneteenth celebration. Delta Township Supervisor Fonda Brewer asked me to be on the commission, which I felt privileged to be on, and I accepted and got to know Mary and many other wonderful people. And it was a wonderful event, filled my, and I think everyone's heads and hearts that were there. With respect to all faith communities, one of my go-tos is Micah from the Old Testament 6:8. But what does the Lord require of us but to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with our Lord? And to me, that was an example of that, doing justice, lifting up the emancipation that Juneteenth represents, emancipation of slavery, which as a white person, we really can't relate to, but many of us obviously can. One of the wonderful parts of that for me was the history walk of Juneteenth, which Fonda, Delta Township Supervisor Fonda helped create. And it was an accessible walking trail of the history of Juneteenth, narrated by someone who had experienced many, many things. She was over 80, I believe. Next, I have agreed to be on the commission again because I so believe we need more education and passion to our brothers and sisters, speaking as a white person, who don't have the same skin color as I do. I am in an organization called the Capital Area Clergy Conference, which there are like 21 clergy in it, some retired, and then it also represents 10 congregations. And I look forward to really publicizing this for those congregations and pastors. So I really hope we continue to do this. And I've heard criticism because why do we need so many? But when we need to get an important word out, we need to find many ways to do it in many places. And so I'm so proud that Delta Township has offered this Juneteenth celebration.
Thank you,
And I
Ms.
look
Bungie. I'm
forward to
sorry
it.
your time is
No,
up. Thank
it's
you
okay.
so much.
I'm used to
Appreciate
preaching.
Thank you, Reverend. Is there any other speakers? Not seeing any movement at this time. We are going to continue on with our agenda. And I think we have the consent agenda before us. Is there a motion? Any motion?
The consent agenda is presented.
Is there support?
Support.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will have a roll call vote, please. Clerk Clark?
Trustee Casparilla,
Yes.
trustee Lyman,
Aye.
trustee Mohica, trustee Bowen,
Yes.
treasurer Fedor,
Yes.
clerk Clark is yes, supervisor Brewer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Now we are on to items added to the agenda. And that is public notices, and I will turn to Treasurer Fedewa.
No, that's under committee of the whole.
Oh, I thought I added it under the section agenda, added items to the agenda. Did you see that?
Yeah, the whole.
He asked
You
for
wanted
it to
it
be under
committee of-
committee of the whole.
Oh, okay. My apologies. I didn't hear you for that part. We will keep moving down then. We're gonna go to new items of business. And the first thing we're gonna have Marcus come up and talk about the Enrichment Center South Roof Replacement. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you Supervisor Brewer and board. As stated in your packs, the board memo and the presentation that was included, we find ourselves with an immediate need for the enrichment center. We need to have a roof repaired, and this roof is on the south wing, as you see, pretty much for the activities room and a building that we program and will continue to program. I can take you through the slide just real quickly, the presentation. As we know, the building was constructed in 1930 with Delta Township taken over in 1980. Currently serves rental space, event center, voting precinct, aquatics office, 39ers, senior office, classroom, bingo hall, and lunchroom. And our north wing, which has been the most challenging part of the building over the years, currently plays host to classrooms, card rooms, etc. And certainly noting that those particular programs and classrooms will be relocated to the new Delta Senior and Activity Center. Continuing on, the south wing serves events, voting precinct, rental spaces. I'll note that storm damage there in 2023, we were able to replace one of the roofs on the south wing, but now we're speaking in terms of the flat roof on the south wing. That's, was also noted in the 2019 building study. Again, next slide, please. This just shows the damage of that particular part of the building, where basically the rubber and installation needs to be ripped out, and about 300 square feet of decking needs to be removed and replaced. And if the board calls for us to come with the recommendation also to get board approval, we have secured our 3 bids and recommending that we use Superior Services for that, and some of the things that are outlined there. Certainly the warranty on that particular roof and some of the other amenities listed there is why we arrived at the second highest bid. The lowest bid, as you see there, was just pretty much a company that would come in and could only remove the decking and the roof, but couldn't, we'd have to have a second contractor to come out to complete the job. So that's where we arrive at our 2026. As we plan to program, we are also bringing back our Saturday and Sunday rentals to the Enrichment Center in 2026. It's been something that we weren't able to do in the past because we're relocating programs from the North Wing rooms to the activities room. And that certainly caused a huge void in terms of our residents' ability to rent facilities and so on. So we are returning that for 2026.
Are there any questions?
Thanks, Marcus. This isn't the first time we've addressed issues with this facility, and it's old. And repairs last a while, but eventually, just like an old car, you keep adding parts to it, but eventually there comes a point where it makes better sense to actually invest in a new car versus keep repairing the old car. And I know that we're not in a position to entertain, a new building here, given the current climate, but just as like a forecast, how much longer can we continue to keep investing in this building where it actually exceeds the price point of a replacement. Do we have any kind of idea when that may be?
We are actually working on that for the building. In the past, the building study talked about possibly removing the north wing and maintaining the south wing, which was in a lot better condition. I certainly think repairing this roof and having it continue as a rental place for us after we move, and also as a voting precinct is something that I think we can pretty much guarantee that we could do that for a while. I mean, how long I couldn't say.
No, man,
No,
decade,
no.
decades. I mean, this.
I would say at least a decade. I mean, and again, a lot of that's going to come out in the studies that we're having done on the building. As I mentioned, possibly, removing one end, keeping one end in the structure and so on. Because I think the building study also showed that that particular part of the building was in pretty decent shape.
Okay, thank you.
Mary?
Well, I obviously am in support of this. It is one of our busiest precincts. We have lost two churches. We really are not in a position to lose a township building. I have no place to move voters to that are reasonable distance of where their residences are. And, the south wing, I believe, is worth investing in. We can make the money back we're gonna spend on the roof once we start renting it. And
And we
pretty quick
estimate
time.
about $17,000 to $20,000 a year just from the rental part on the weekends that we're looking at 2026. Now, beyond that, it does give us a building that we can also rent out during the week for other events and organizations.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment in support of this as well, especially knowing kind of that south wing, how that is very valuable to residents in the community as a rental space. There aren't a lot of spaces like that, and the fact that it can generate revenue to kind of be self-sustaining is really valuable, but just an asset for residents to have access to. So thank you.
Other comments? I would concur with what was just said with Clerk Clark and Trustee Coscarelli. I see it as an asset and well needed. It's absolutely beautiful inside, certainly on that south side. And putting a new roof on it. And it sounds to me like there is a plan to perhaps demolish the north side, which is the costlier side. It has more.
There's a study.
There's a study. So I look forward to hearing the results of that because that's been like the money pit kind of place.
Yes.
So I look forward to hearing more information on that, and I appreciate the comments on retaining an asset that we have. Okay, with hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Yeah.
No one moved. No one made the motion. Can you make a motion on that?
I move that the Delta Township Board approves the awarding of the Enrichment Center roof repairs to Superior Services for a total cost of $47,392 and authorize the township manager to sign contracts authorizing such work.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Now, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We are now on to the second
Thank you.
item. Thank you, Mark, too, for that. We are now on to the second item of new business, and Peter, I believe, is he here in the room or there he is. Will you tell us a little bit about the rezoning? Number 10.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. So this is an item that has been on your agenda a couple times. So at the last meeting sorry, I lost my place in the packet.
I do that all the time.
So at your last meeting in September 15th, the board approved for introduction this rezoning of two parcels on the east side of Thomas L. Parkway from RM to RC. The takeaway from this rezoning would allow the project, RC zoning allows single-family homes. The applicant in this case is Habitat for Humanity. They've indicated they plan to build potentially single-family homes, or at least to have the option to build single-family homes on these two parcels. So this rezoning would enable that. We have it queued up here for final adoption, so there's a motion in your packet. And following this, if it does get approved for final adoption, we would place a notice in the newspaper announcing that rezoning and then change all our maps and internal systems.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Trustee Bowen.
I move to approve the final adoption of the proposed rezoning of two parcels, parcels number 040-060-500-535-00 and number 040-060-500-530-00, totaling 0.68 acres on the east side of East Thomas L. Parkway from RM multiple family to RC moderate density for the following 4 reasons listed in the packet. I further move that the board directs township clerk to publish a notice of the approved rezoning prior to the next regular meeting of the township board.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We are now on to
Thank you, Peter.
appointments of boards. Thank you, Peter. And commissions policy. And Brian is going to walk us through the recommendation that is before us.
Sure, so thank you.
Or Manager
Supervisor.
Reed, forgive me.
Oh, that's right. Board members, we've discussed this policy a couple times dating back several months. So we provided another draft. I think the 2 areas that are still under some concern are the rotating officers of these boards and then a removal policy. So what we had done, we'd heard some feedback about possibly softening some of the language in terms of rotating so that if nobody wanted to step up, that the chair could continue if there was nobody willing to serve. So that's reflected in this draft. And then we went through and put together some removal language, which the board had requested. Most of our boards and commissions do have some removal language in their bylaws. Some of those are covered under statute, some are in their bylaws, so there's very few that didn't already have some type of language. So we included some of that in the draft. As you saw from my email, Treasurer Fedewa had provided some additional language that he would like considered to be added in or this draft changed to reflect that. And so I think that's where we're at. I don't think there were many other sections. I can't speak for the board, but many other sections of this policy that had remaining differences of opinion on.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Treasurer Fedewa.
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, I don't see those changes that you're referring to, Brian, that being incorporated, other than the change for the citing the legal reasons, the definition of a removal of a member of a board or commission, which I think can be defended legally because those terms of misfeasance, malfeasance, and like are commonly used legal terms and are well understood in case law. But there's 2 issues, and I'll speak to the second one first here on the removal. I still have an issue that there is not a due process clause in here at all. So I've suggested an amendment adding a section that would state an appointed board or commission member shall receive a written notice of violation detailing the cited conduct violating this policy and shall have the right to explain or contest the alleged violation in a regularly scheduled board meeting or in executive session in accordance with the rules and procedures policy 9.2, which we already exist. So this is the due process that I've expressed before the board before, is that if you're accused of something, you have a right to at least respond to it. And that's missing in this policy. And I think affording the individual to receive a written notice of a violation, not just a phone call, and to be able to respond to it at his or her discretion, either in a public board meeting or an executive session, is warranted. So that's why I have suggested this section 13.2 be inserted in this policy. And we can talk about that if you want. And then I'd like to also talk about about the rotating officers as a.
Go ahead with both of your.
Okay,
Let's just
sure.
both, and then we'll just talk about it.
Sure.
collectively.
So as we talked about before, there was a little bit of a concern about rotating officers, and that would required to include every sitting board member or commission member, and that certainly wasn't the intent there. So I've altered this language, and I've stated that basically, and I'll read it, in accordance with the governmental best practices, boards and commissions shall strive to have alternating officers where a member does not serve in the same position as any immediately succeeding election of officers in conjunction with the boards and commissions bylaws or other governing policy. So the emphasis here is that the boards and commissions shall strive to have alternating. That doesn't mean rotating, that every single board member has to serve if they don't want to, but it's not going to be the same person for a decade or plus. So I don't think that's in the best interest of the township or the residents to have that sort of, new input from other members in serving in the officer positions. So I've tweaked this, and hopefully the board will see that it's not as concerning to them, and we can adopt this as well.
Thank you, Treasurer Fedor. Clerk Clark?
In general, I agree with what you're saying, Treasurer Fedor. I spoke to this before. Striving to have alternating officers is a lofty goal. For me, it's not critical to the success of a commission. We have a history of very, very dedicated community members who have served on commissions for many years and have really brought those commissions and the work of those commissions forward. And so I'm just really not supportive of the implication that someone who serves multiple years is doing a disservice. And I know that's not really what's written here, but it's been said twice in our board meetings. And I just want to go on record that I don't support that philosophy. And I find it a negative implication to some of our past commission chairs. And I could list the fabulous things that those people have done for our community. I do like this drive to have alternating, but there isn't, I don't like that where a member does not serve in the same position, because I thought that we had talked about if there was no other nomination or no other person interested, that a person could repeat. So I'm kind of confused about this. If you could explain that, Treasurer.
Sure, I think the language speaks for itself, and that they shall strive to do it, but if there's nobody willing to do it, then they're not obligated. This is it's a value. It's a value saying that, we would like our appointed board and commission members to be proactive, and those who want to serve can, and they're not foregone in wanting to do that by an established person that has supposedly been chair for a decade, and he or she knows what they're doing, well, okay, I shouldn't even mention the fact that I would like to be the chair or the secretary, for example. And
trust me, that's no one.
that can be intimidating for board members. It can be. And this isn't mandated. This isn't saying that everybody has to rotate in that. It's just saying just strive to do it. If there really isn't anybody interested in doing that, this allows that. It's a policy. It's a value statement, in accordance with good governmental best practices. So I don't consider it negative at all. Contrary, I think it's a positive statement, and it encourages people to be even more involved and active in their boards and commissions. And that's how I view it.
Thank you. Trustee Bowen.
I'm reading the number 8 that's in the packet and your number 8, and I wanted to ask you, Treasurer Fidoa. I'm not sure I'm understanding why what's written in the packet doesn't do the exact same thing as what you've written, just in different language. It says periodically elect officers, it says rotating basis, it says no other person is nominated except the current officer. It seems to me that this covers all the bases that you want covered, all the things that you have said. And so if you could explain to me what I'm missing and why you prefer this language to what's in the packet.
So number 8 is there, in my opinion, is that this is what this board agreed to in an earlier meeting. And it wasn't negated by the fact that it didn't technically follow Robert's Rules of Order. Okay. In fact, the attorney just said it would be preferable to cure it. It didn't say it was invalid. So my assumption is staff included that because this is actually what's been approved by a majority of the board members. Okay. So that's what's there now. And there was objections by some is that the interpretation that rotating means that every single person on that board and commission is expected to serve in a officer position, much like the planning commission does, for example. And I don't necessarily think one size fits all. So I thought that, let's make this a value statement by the board and that we would like the boards and commissions to strive to have alternating. And that means that not everybody is required it's expected to have, a role in a board officer position somewhere in their tenure.
So if I may, Supervisor Brewer.
Yes, go right ahead.
So you didn't feel that this language would pass through the whole board, and so you offer this other language to cover all the same bases and replace what's in the packet because you listened to the concerns of board members at past meetings, and so you came back with something else.
That's
is
correct.
what you're saying. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? If not, I have comments. Thank you for the amended language. For me, when you use the word shall, that's strong. There's no wiggle room with the word shall. So I'm just speaking for myself. I can't speak for anyone else. I am not in support of either of these two amendments. I think as Trustee Bowen explained, the language covers what we're trying to accomplish as it's presented to us from administration. So I am current with the proposal that's before us. That is just me. And so I am not in support of the amendments. I think this accomplishes what we need to. And I move that the policy before us be adopted. Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported. Now discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I do think it is very appropriate to have due process. I'm not sure what the objection, if there's I don't think there's any harm in any of that, and probably appropriate to have kind of that full disclosure if someone is removed from an appointed position. I didn't realize we were going to move forward. I thought we were gonna
This is another
make a
committee.
decision on each. So this is just kind of.
New business.
This is new business. This is the vote.
No, I didn't realize we were doing them all at once, a decision, like it wasn't going to be individual. And that it was going to be a decision.
Said if we could do it collectively.
Well, I thought that was just his description of what he was requesting, not action on both. So, I just want to say, I don't see any harm. I only see that as an added benefit to strengthening our policy. So I don't know what the objections might be to that. I guess I'll leave it at that. In the end, I'm not sure if there's a practical difference in how either of the two other languages ultimately the outcome of that, if it ends up being a lot different, but just leave that comment.
Thank you. And I will add for your question, when I looked at the amendment or the second amendment, 13.2, the way I'm looking at the policy, it's the policy. It's not getting into the nuts and bolts of how they get there. I trust that administration will go through a process of making sure that the board is well informed on if somebody is not working well on a board or commission, it's gonna come before us. So I didn't see the need to put all that wording in there when it will come before us. So I thought that it was fine as it is presented. I didn't think it needed to be the detail of,
Well, then I have the question of how are people notified and who does the notification? Is it only board members? Is it staff? Is it only the manager? You know, what is the process and is it transparent and who can pull that trigger and make those decisions?
well, I will certainly defer to Manager Reed, but I know that we had a similar situation. And as a township supervisor, I certainly didn't feel that I had the full authority within me to do something, but to certainly bring it to the attention of, as it came to me, talked with administration about it, and if there was going to be a place where action needed to take place, it needed to come to the board for action. In my opinion, I can't speak for every supervisor, but in my opinion.
Well, I think that's a good point too, that if it's a matter of discretion, maybe we need to be more clear in our policy to say as practice, this is what it should be regardless of who may be supervisor and what they deem appropriate or not. To be clear, there is that kind of more of a due process system with that. Again, I don't think I'm recognizing where there's any negative, only a benefit by being clear that there is due process if there's a concern that justifies removal or
Yeah.
from a.
I would agree. I think it was just the whole process here that they shall receive a written notice. I really don't know what that process should look like, but I do think it should be transparent. But I didn't want to go into all of those finite details on how that was going to roll out when that's something that I trust administration to walk us through those steps, that it is something ultimately that's going to come before the board to remove a volunteer. These are volunteer positions, you guys. And, you know, we appreciate people doing that. This is not something where someone's getting paid for this, but people are taking time out of their own personal lives. Beth and then Mary.
Okay, but the citizen commission's staff does not do anything except take their applications and provide the applications to the board. And it's the board who they interview, we look through and we choose who we think will best serve on the boards. So shouldn't it be the policy that there is, you know, that we're not relying on staff to make those decisions? And putting in a process that they will receive a written notice because they receive a written notice that they have been selected. So shouldn't it mirror that on the back end, if there is a back end, that there should be something written and that it should come with the full authority of the board? And then they can come in and speak, just like they submit an application. It just.
Thank you, Trustee Bowen. Let me get to Mary. Did you have something? Erin?
Oh, I was just going to mention, so I did a little bit of the background work and looking at what the different statutes and things require when it comes to removal. So Planning Commission and Zoning Board, through their appropriate statutes, do require written notification. So that's in state law. The rest of them that do have something don't necessarily get into that specific. I think I would look at it as if you were looking at any other board action, right? There's going to be a staff memo addressing what's going on. So there's going to be something in writing. I mean, if we had an allegation of wrongdoing from one of our, board members, not necessarily you, but like our volunteer, commission members or what have you, we would do an investigation. We would prepare a summary for the board. I mean, that would be pretty standard process so that, we could certainly elaborate that in the policy, but I think that would be something that would be done for the township's best interest to make sure that there is an opportunity for that person to address those allegations as well. So I guess how much you want to get into the detail in your policy is up to you. But I would not say just start removing people without going through a process.
Treasurer Fedor?
You know, I look at this as being someone who is being accused of misfeasance, malfeasance, or whatever, and boards change, managers change, and you know, not every person follows the same instinctual way of dealing with stuff. So if you're being accused of something, I just think it's a fundamental right that you have the chance to defend yourself in some prescribed format. And right now, it's just silent to that. And it can be based on innuendo, hearsay. There could be, you know, extending circumstances that aren't brought forth. And it's up to the individual to say, well, I think this is wrong, or yeah, okay, I've been a bad boy. I'm just going to resign. But no, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't think everybody understands the total circumstance of this. So I want to be able to defend myself and explain either in public. The manager has that right. And if you look at our section 9.2, every other appointee and staff person has that right as well. So when we're dealing with removal in this language specifically, I think it's important that we also insert the right of the individual to defend themselves, you know, and if they want to, they're not required to. But that is a lack of due process, because otherwise it can be arbitrary and it can be capricious. And there's no checks and balance on that. We may have it, and the board appoints these people and the board removes these people. But, you know, we may have that, but that's not guaranteeing future boards or other circumstances can arise that a policy doesn't address that particular right. That's why I think it's important to insert it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some implied due process by the fact that it has to go before the board and you have to take an action in public session, right? Like there is some, but it certainly is not clear on what that process would be and how that would resolve. Like I mentioned, some of the statutes do explicitly state that there has to be written notice and a public hearing before the board can take action. Others are silent on the process, just that it has to be for cause. With one caveat being that district library board, the board does not have the authority to remove it. It's per statute, a function of the governor's office. So.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of?
What are we voting on? I'm sorry.
Oh, we are voting on the proposal that's presented in the packet. We're voting to support the proposal as is the motion that was made.
I'd like
That
to
can
offer
be
an
heard.
amendment to that motion.
Yes.
I would like to offer an amendment that we adopt this 13.3 inserted in to add the due process as presented in the treasurer's text.
Support. So we're gonna deal with the
Vote on the
amendment
amendment.
first. Yes, any discussion? All in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. So now we're on to the larger motion, which is to adopt the policy as presented with amendment 13.3, not strike section 8 and insert.
Point of
Yes, all in
clarification.
favor, I'm sorry?
Point of clar-
Yes,
point of
yes, sir.
clarification. So what we have before us is language with multiple colors. We have crossouts, we have blue, we have black. Is this what we're voting on?
That's what we're looking at.
There's a clean, there's a
The strikeout. Those are strikeouts.
Where's the clean one?
The clean one, yeah.
These are just the strikeouts. You're looking at the strikeout version and amended.
So the amended motion
You want to look at
is
8?
this one. With this one.
No, I understand. All right, thank
If
you.
there's no further discussion, all in favor of supporting the new motion where we have already adopted 13.3. That is the only adoption for this motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, that motion passes. Thank you. We are now on to the Township Board Conference Attendant Policy, and I will have Manager Reed give us a little guidance on that one.
Again, this is another policy that we've had quite a bit of discussion over, so we brought back a draft after our last meeting. It seemed like the direction of the board was to move towards something with an equal allocation of funds for conferences. So we provided some language to that effect. Basically having an allocation for the board members and the supervisor listed under township board in the budget to be divided equally, and the same amount of funds also included for the treasurer or clerks in their respective budget. I don't believe there was any other changes from what had previously been provided to the board on this.
Thank you. Clerk Clark?
I just only had one. Thank you. I thought this was very well done, and I think it captures what we've been trying to accomplish. My only comment that I'm gonna put out for discussion, and I'm happy to make it as an amendment if that's the flavor of the board. But I think registration should be limited. Paid registration should be limited to early bird rates if there are early bird rates available. Because it's oftentimes
Saves us money.
hundreds of dollars to do a late registration, and I think that's not.
That's a motion. I support that motion.
Here, here.
It would just be an addition under, maybe it could be added under the request for registration, or somewhere it needs to be just added that the township reimbursement is early bird registration rate where available.
Does that sound agreeable to everybody? Good call.
That's
Touch on that. Treasurer Fedor?
Yeah, so I was looking at, we have a proposed cap based on our budget. And I'm looking at the ability for trustees to attend the MTA conference and the MML conference. And maybe the CapCon. And from what I can tell is that attending those two conferences and the CapCon exceeds that $2,000 limit by almost $1,000. So that means the board of trustees would not be able to do all three of those events. The CapCon would have to go up, well, even that wouldn't be it, that they would only be able to do the MTA or the MML. So I don't know if that's the intent of this board to do that. I thought we've talked about before is that, yeah, those two conferences are pretty, fundamental to our position on the board. The clerk, has hers as well. So I think by capping that 2,000 by the $10,000 that's in that line item, and what I'm looking at here is that we wouldn't be able to do that. We'd only be able to do one conference and then the MML, unless you paid for it out of your own pocket.
Trustee Pascaline?
Yeah, just in regard to that, just a couple thoughts, at least from my perspective in setting a policy, obviously, I think it's important we have something in writing. But it was also because our current policy, while we adopted a budget and a set amount for conferences and related travel, there was nothing in our policy that ensured we adhered to that. And so I think it's a combination of of our policy being tied to the amount we budget and complying with that. Because if that's the case, what's the point of budgeting any specific dollar amount? Because we had no limits to this in our policy. I do think it may come down to making choices year to year. Sometimes those are local conferences. Costs are cheaper because you're not doing travel and hotel, and you may be able to participate in both. In some years, it may be as board members, we have to prioritize what we see the greatest value in. I think what is important is that we are being, we commit to the dollars, the limits we place on ourselves for taxpayers, and not exceeding that and following what we budget and what we say we're gonna limit those type of expenses for. There are lots of needs in the community. We talk about, we heard comments today in public comment about the importance and the value of some of our events. What we spend in travel and conferences could be redirected in events. And I feel strongly that if we say we're budgeting an X amount, we commit to that and not exceed it. And I think the dollar amount is incredibly important to commit to.
Manager Reed wanted to say something.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear for the board. So this policy does allow the board to set the annual
Yeah.
budget allocation. It just places so we use the 10,000 as an example. That's what's in the budget this year. But
It could differ.
every year it would be adjusted, but the caps then would still be, or would be divided equally.
The question, well, so when you say this year, are you talking this current fiscal year?
Sorry, 2026.
You're talking next fiscal year.
Projected budget.
Right,
yes.
and I'm looking at, what these conferences and the CapCon costs. I'm looking at the MAMC conference and the MAMC Cemeteries Conference. And if the trustees as a whole are limited to $2,000 apiece, 3, 4 exceed them, so you're not gonna be able to go to them.
You're gonna have to make a choice,
Or,
or you're gonna be at that cap, which I support.
yeah.
This is,
So where did you get the $10,000? I know we're not talking budget, I'm just curious about it.
Well, we put the budget number in just based on looking at some of these numbers before. That was prior to developing a cap per
Right.
board member. So what you're saying is a budget decision, which our official budget has not passed yet. That the line item is a separate discussion from
Right.
the policy of setting an equal allocation
Yeah.
for board members. So
conversation can come.
I
at that
understand that. I'm
if you
not
want.
arguing the policy. I'm arguing the number, and that's the budget. So I'm just alerting the board that, what they're suggesting for the 10,000 was before it was understood that number is going to basically give one conference per person per year. And I just want to bring that to the attention of the board.
Thank you. Clerk Clark.
I felt strongly about this. I had many discussions, the board, this is not the first time this issue has come before the board this year. And I'm not the only one that has spoken in favor of it. And I made a decision, my personal decision, that I was going to apply that to myself this year. And I did not attend MML or MTA because I chose to do the 2 conferences that are applicable to my profession. So yes, I realize that in the future, I will never attend an MML or an MTA conference in all likelihood. And I almost made it if we hadn't had a special board meeting where I had to have 2 trips to Muskegon because we couldn't vote any other time. And I drove back, I would have made the $2,000 limit this year by choices that I made. And I think that is, we make choices. So, I mean, maybe you alternate, you go to MML one year and MTA another year. but it is about making choices.
Any other comments? I would like to say also, I am in support of the policy and I'm in support of the $10,000 that we discussed ad nauseum. We've talked about this over and over and over. And yes, we've heard from the community, everybody's got to give a little, including us. And so if there's two conferences that you like to attend, you're going to have to pay the balance of it that exceeds the amount. So no one's saying you can't go to two conferences or three or four or five. I think what's going to come out of this, if it's the determination of the board, is that every year we're going to set an annual amount. Some years might be higher, some years could be lower. I don't know. I don't have a glass ball to tell you what that is, but I do agree that it should be split evenly and that whatever that figure is the figure, and that is the cap for the township's checkbook. Anything over that is on you, and I support that. So I think I was the last one to speak. Did we have a motion yet? We need a motion for this.
We have not had a motion. We had my amendment, which is out of order. So I would like to move that the Delta Township Board approve the board conference attendance policy as drafted with the inclusion of registrations limited to early bird coverage where possible.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We are now on to Manager Reed's report.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor and board members. A couple things, gave you a copy of the Delta Now. So that should be hitting mailboxes here shortly, so you get a preview. As you know, during the budget discussion, we discussed this. So for several years, we've been doing the Delta Now biannually. So this has been a good publication to communicate what is going on, and a lot of the good projects and, events and other things, a way to communicate with the public. So in 2026, we will be combining Delta Now with the Delta Mag. So we'll be putting out, some communications on that so people understand that those two communications will be together.
That's a good savings for it.
It is a very good savings. So
So they'll be semi-annual.
well, the Delta Mag will still be quarterly, and we'll mix in the Delta Now, I think, in
Thank you.
so yes.
Like a community of the whole inside the publication. That's
So credit Mary and Kathy and some of our other communications people with that cost savings idea. And efficiency in terms of our communications. Sticking with some of our parks events, Sharp Park is pretty much finished. So that project will be having a ribbon cutting October 28th at 10 a.m. So very excited to have that project finished. Hunter's Orchard, the completion of the paved pathway in that park is nearly finished. So we'll be putting together a ribbon cutting on that as well. And Hawk Meadow has also started, and that's also completing a loop in the park. So those will all be connected next year when we do our Delta Mills to Hawk Meadow pathway. That's also part of the Webster Road Bridge project and that reconstruction. Fire department is having their annual fire prevention open house October 9th. It's Thursday, so 6 to 8:30 p.m. So hope we'll see you all there. Thank you for everyone who attended this Senior and Activity Center groundbreaking last Monday. I thought it was a great event, and as always, appreciate Representative Whitwer and her efforts on that and our partnership with Waverly Schools. So that's going to be exciting. We had staff tour the building, so they've already are underway with their demolition inside, and so they are moving quickly on that. I already gave the update on Willow and Pepper Ridge, but happy to answer any other questions board members have.
Anything for Manager Reed?
One addition, trick or treat trail is tomorrow evening. I just wanted
Thank
to-
you.
Where is that?
At the Lansing Mall, and it starts at 5 o'clock. And runs 5 to 7.
Excellent.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Manager Reed. That takes care of yours. There is, now we are to Committee of the Whole, and the Treasurer Fedewa wanted to talk about public notices.
Yeah, thank you. We heard the presentation by Burl regarding City Pulse and their fees and doing public notices, and we've had this discussion before. We're talking about trying to be as economic as we can. We're constraining ourselves in many ways and reducing programs and things like that. I think one of those areas could be in the expenses that we spend on public notices. And I think Burl has laid out some rationale for us utilizing the City Pulse rather than excluding them. And I think we should consider at least authorizing, or the intent that we start using the City Pulse for our public notices. And if need be, we establish a policy to do so, and not necessarily singularly to one publication, but that all publications shall be utilized, based on the best economic outcome for the township on that. I have a problem when we have a publication with the outreach that the Pulse has, and we're not utilizing it. I just think that, by omitting the use of a publication that meets our needs is kind of a disservice that we're doing to try to make our expenditures as cost effective as possible. So I would like to either make a policy decision or that we have some sort of directive or whatever, that we start utilizing the City Pulse for our publications, our public notices.
Thank you. Clerk Clark?
I would just put out for thought that it publishes once a week, which will definitely influence when things can come back to the board when we are required to give notice. So I just want to be clear about that. I'm not married to anything, but there is no flexibility in publication dates for the City Pulse. So that goes then to some future thought whenever things are coming requiring publication notifications legally. And secondly, I would ask that we do bid comparisons then, at least sporadically.
What? I'm sorry, what?
So
Bid
I can get a
comparison.
quote from
Yeah.
the State Journal, is
Yeah.
where we typically go, and get a quote from the City Pulse. As long as those quotes are in a timely manner and we have the time to have a quote. So we're not locked into anything right now by policy, and I would like not to be locked into any particular publication by policy, and then have to come back and deal with an action if either one of those no
Sure.
longer do publication.
If I may.
Of course.
If I may. I understand that. I just think it's been an omission that it hasn't been policy, but it's an omission that we've entertained the use of the City Pulse for our public notices. I would suggest that your concern about it being a weekly has been addressed by the number of municipalities that utilize it now already. So I don't think we're unique in that particular concern, but it seems to service the needs of those municipalities that utilize the City Pulse for its public notices now already. So at least I would assume in their viewpoint that that is not an overriding concern.
Newspaper deserts are a real thing in this country. More and more newspapers, physical newspapers are going away. And yet we still have our city pulse that covers this entire area. And in the information that Burl gave us, 31 locations in Delta Township. That is a lot of places to reach residents, to reach their eyes, to speak to them about the business that is going on in their township. And I believe that looking at the option of using the city pulse as well as the Lansing State Journal, which, you know, I don't know that I've ever purchased a paper copy of the Lansing State Journal, but I've definitely picked up the city pulse. So, you know, to catch those extra people, you know, maybe we do both, you know, to catch those eyes, but, you know, supporting local journalism is another benefit to this so that these things don't go away.
Would it be a next step for the board to perhaps ask Manager Reed or to work with Clerk just to see what the costs are for some publications and then go from there? But it's important that we understand, I think, from someone who does this all the time, Clerk Clark, the criteria to make sure that it's going to meet the needs of how we operate as a township. At our meetings, I don't want to see us adjust to newspapers, but that we are meeting our needs, because we've had great success in the process that we currently use. And but I would not want to not go through a process. If there's a way of looking at something, I have no problem with that. But I think it needs to definitely meet what our posting needs are.
Well, and that goes back to the various departments and what they need posted and the timeliness that they will have to adhere to.
So what is the?
Just,
what is
yeah,
the
but just.
Administration, what are your
if I could.
recommendations?
I mean, we can look at different circumstances. We can use that. We cannot be locked in. I mean, we have bond issues, we have grant stuff. So just as long as there's recognition where it sounds like it is, we have to oftentimes react very nimbly, so we cannot be locked into one publication or something that's once a week. So.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, I would welcome, you know, just a review of that and that we expand our options here. And again, we need to be nimble, however, you know, I mean, it's a weekly publication, but again, I've seen bond notices and the whole rainbow of different types of public notices that appear in the city pulse now. So of course, it is all dependent on what our departments need and how little time that might be in order to get something published and, you know, meet the statutory requirement. However, that being said, I think that it probably is not insurmountable to look at this. And I'm not suggesting 100% of our notices go to the Pulse or to the other publication. I'm just saying, let's have some fairness here. And also let's look at the economics of it. If we are into this discussion about we're cutting back, we're showing pain and sacrifice, here's an area where we can save some money.
Very good. And my suggestion is if you're going to look at one paper, you look at the other papers that do similar work too. There are some other publications that are out there as well, and weekly newspapers that you look at them all. We're going to look at them and see if they meet our needs. All right. Is that doable
Sure.
for you?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so that'll be our next course of action, and the Manager Reed will give us an update on the findings and work with Clerk Clark to make sure that we're clear on the criteria that's needed for our postings. Those timelines are critical. Okay, anything else on that? All right, I want to go back to board member committee reports. Are there any committee reports from the board, any board member committee reports? Not seeing any. I do want to recognize though and thank trustee Bowen for going on a Saturday, taking her time to go to the Hmong New Year Festival. And she represented the township board for us on one of the Saturdays not long ago at Grand Park. And those celebrations are huge. They're huge, and they truly appreciate having representation from the township. So thank you for doing that. Okay, we are at public comments again. Have 3 minutes to come up and share comments with us. Please state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Michelle Hart. I live at 4509 Mayford Street here in Delta Township. I want to just say two things. One is I appreciate the board's discussion tonight on the adoption of the conference policy and the commitment to staying within the budget. I think that's really important. We've not seen that necessarily in years past where conference expenses have exceeded that. I think it's really important to the work that you're doing here and then the expectation of our community that you stay within those budgeted amounts. And then I also want to just kind of highlight something that I kind of recognized tonight, and I attend a lot of meetings, and I watch that clock, and I don't know if it's accurate or not. It doesn't have a second hand. But it appears as though sometimes speakers are limited to 3 minutes and some are allowed more time. And may I suggest a digital speaking clock that would be visible to everybody here so that
Everybody but the clerk. Yeah, we're working on that, Michelle.
It's there,
We got
yeah.
a new one a few weeks ago. And
So,
we're
yeah, it would be helpful too, I think, for the speakers, so they would
Yeah.
know I'm running out of time and I've got one point to make and I'd like to make it. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Good evening, Linda Marquardt, 204 Geneva Circle. I too want to echo Michelle Hart's remarks and congratulate the board on adopting a conference policy. I think it really came to light in the 23 and 2024 fiscal year when more than $30,000 was spent on going to conferences against a budget of $6,000 and $7,000 respectively, which was a total budget allocation of $13,000. So congratulations on the belt tightening that you're doing. I'm also delighted for the inclusion of item number 4, which requires a report out on conferences attended. I think that providing a mechanism for the full board to benefit from conference learnings, specifically highlighting key takeaways and areas of potential application, will benefit all board members and residents alike. I also want to mention that the MML general session and breakout session presentations are all available on their website. I've reviewed several, and there's definitely some very worthwhile information found there. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Next speaker.
Yeah, I'd like to just address a couple of the issues that were raised. One is the timeliness. I can assure you, we bend over backwards to accommodate public notices. It's not out of the question to get a call on a Tuesday morning. Can you still get this in this week? We come out on Wednesday. It's very rare that we have to say no. And if we do, yes, you still have the recourse to the State Journal. It takes a couple of days before they can get it in. And it can't go in their Saturday paper because it's just a digital edition and it has to be an actual printed newspaper. If there is another publication other than the Journal that is qualified to carry public notices, I'm not aware of it. It is possible. There's still a weekly in Charlotte. However, I doubt it very much. It has 31 locations in Delta Township. Finally, as far as price, I've offered before and I'm offering it again. Send me your recent public notices. Send me, say, 3. I'll price them. Our price is not going to change. I won't even know what you paid for them. I have experienced in making that offer. I will have found out in one case that the Journal charged one thing for one public notice and another rate for another public notice. And I don't know how consistent they are. And I pointed that out to that government. And they said, that's a really good point. We'd like to know. It doesn't change from notice to notice. Our price is always the same. It's always fair. We work with you back and forth as long as necessary to make sure you get it right. And you're talking to an actual human being right here in Greater Lansing, not someone who's at another Gannett newspaper in Louisville, Kentucky, Des Moines, Iowa, or who knows where. You made a great point. The danger of a news desert in our community is growing. The State Journal is down to 6 publications a week, and they're holding on. But that's not going to last.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I'm trying to keep it on my phone, believe it or not.
Brenda Henderson, 4808 Delta River Drive. So the City Pulse, I've been reading the City Pulse for as long as I can remember. And they've come a long way, the way their publication is. And so it was stated that there are 31 different sites where you can get the City Pulse. But I tell you what, you better get it when you see it because it goes really, really fast. But you can also read it on their website. So don't think you can't read it because it's also located there. And so tomorrow, we have a wonderful community activity. As Mary said, we have the trick or treat at the Lansing Mall. And so if you have a chance, if you don't have kids or whatever, you still need to come out. Because last year, when I was there, I'm a mall walker, and it got ready to get started. It went from Zap Zone all the way down to the food court and vendors on both sides, and the costumes. It was just unreal. The costumes that the kids had on and the parents had on. And so if you have a chance to come out, come out. Like I said, I don't have kids anymore, but I really enjoyed that day. It was nice and fun. So come support our other community activity.
Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. Any other public comment?
I will do a few things real quick.
Okay, come on up, George.
George Hanley, 943 Alice House Lane, from 5. The transit millage is for everything. The number of riders and the number of services is encyclopedic. And the surveys and everything is a matter of public record. It is easily accessible. No one is trying to hide it. You can easily go online and ask for it. It is not behind a wall or anything. It is easily accessible. I would also like to commend the board for its budgeting. It was nice, very nice here, but I would also like to ask you, go looking for the grants. There are grants for going out to conferences. I've used them to go to conferences before, and you might also get drafted to go to conferences. That has happened to me. So there are other options for getting to them. So I wish you luck to getting to as many as you can. I know about MTA and the others there. Michigan is blessed with their bounty of conferences. And I also intend to go to the open house on the 15th, and I can't wait to have discussions about how this pedestrian mall we're developing out here, because I want to make that as accessible as possible.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other public comment? Seeing none, is there any other business before the board?
I do just want to add, that we were successful in getting a grant. Last year, Senator Anthony and Representative Whitwer set aside, I think it was $1.14 million, through the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks to do accessible voting precincts, and it was focused exclusively on making a building accessible. And nearly 90 communities in the state took advantage of that, and Delta received a grant for our community center, which now has an ADA door with that you push that on. And I had hoped to get another million this year, but that didn't happen. So I will continue to nag, but we did get
Excellent.
that for the community center.
Excellent. Is there anything else, any other board business? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.